Dear learners, I am Christina Georgy, your academic counselor for the MEG program. I welcome you to my session. For those who are attending this online, let me remind you that this session is specifically designed for the course code MEG-01, which is titled British Poetry. Hence, the aspects discussed here will be solely based on the official study material for the same. And as per the requests of many of our learners, this session will be recorded by me so that this will aid you in your effective preparation of the upcoming TEE. We will be having unit-wide discussions. Towards the end of the session, we will discuss the important questions from the entire block as well. So we have already discussed blocks 1 to 3. If interested, you may check out the playlist on MEG-1. Shall we move on to block 4? I suppose yes. So today we will deal with block 4 of the course code MEG-01, which is titled British Poetry. Dear learners, this block falls under book 2 of the total of 4 books which are available for your MEG-01 preparation. Is that clear? This is from book 2. Book 2 includes units 4, 5 and 6. I would appreciate if some of you could please respond. Thank you. Thank you, Shine. I suppose it's clear with the rest of you as well. Anyway, first and foremost, we'll have a block introduction. Block introduction is mandatory. It's because it will help you have an idea from which unit what you will have to focus upon. Alright, so the block is titled Studying Milton. Milton is no one unfamiliar to you because all throughout your BA course you must have studied various aspects with respect to the life and works of John Milton. So if you focus on this MEG-01 study material, block 4 includes units 17 to 21. That is, we can say this block is composed of 5 units. First and foremost, unit 17 would serve you a background to this entire age of late Renaissance. I suppose you remember Renaissance, Reformation and all those aspects. These are the basics that you studied during your BA days. If not, it would be great if you could have a quick revision on the material that you studied for the BA session. Just the way that I informed you last class, it's always considered as if a continuation study of your BA course. So if at all there is anybody who has not done BA English Language and Literature, please make sure that you put a bit of additional effort in reading the background. Even the details provided in your study material would suffice. Alright. So thereafter we move on to unit 18. So this is specifically an unit on the life and works of John Milton. The unit provides an overview of Milton's own life, and that it also attempts to trace the major developments in his life in relation to his works. It is in unit 19 that we discuss Milton's literary output. What do you mean by literary output? Those literary works that he has written during his active years. And then we'll move on to units 20 and 21. It's these units that you need to give due importance. Why is that? Why is that so? It's because it's in these units that you study the nativity or the important poems such as Lycidas, etc. So these could be questions for your TEE as well. So dear learners, focus your attention towards units 20 and 21, where we will trace the evolution of Milton as a poet, focusing on the literary influences that shaped his works. Do you have any idea which are the poems that you need to focus upon? Yes or no? You must have had an introduction regarding the poems of Milton, right? Even during your BA days. Yes, good to know. Yes, from Sneha. She must have read the text at least, I suppose. If not, I'll explain, because some of you must be wondering which are the poems that we need to study. We need to study On the Morning of Christ's Nativity, Lycidas, L'Allegro, Il Penseroso, and 2 sonnets, namely sonnet number 19 and 23. The block will end there, and thereafter we will move on to the next important block, that is block 5. So shall we have a quick introduction to unit 17? I would be happy if you could respond. Yes, good. So this basically serves as a background. Alright, so you need to have background information regarding the late Renaissance. Why is that important? It is important because it is during this time that Milton wrote his main works that we will have to study. So let me introduce you to unit 17, which is part of block 4 of the course code titled MEG-01. This particular unit is titled The Late Renaissance. In the previous blocks, there are discussions on Renaissance. We also discussed. I hope you will go back to the playlist and listen to those lectures. So, to give you a brief review of the Renaissance, the period as such, this very particular term, the Renaissance, is a term commonly used to refer to a period in European history. Do you have any idea which period it is? You've studied for your BA days? I know it's difficult to recollect. It's actually the 14th century. So, this is a term which is used to refer to the period in European history dating from the late 14th century in Italy. And thereafter, this got spread to other countries through the 15th and 16th century. And do you have any idea when this reached its peak? It is during the 17th century in England with the work of John Milton, often referred to as the last great Renaissance poet. Remember, John Milton is very often referred to as one of the last great Renaissance poets. So I hope now you understood the importance of the background of Renaissance. Shall we look at some of the major features of the age of Renaissance? Obviously, you'll have to have an idea on that. First and foremost, it was predominantly an age of classical learning. For those who are actually referring to your study material, as I mentioned, this is page number 9, which is unit 17 of block 4. Alright, so we can say that classical learning was perhaps the most striking feature of the Renaissance. And this began with the discovery of and a new interest in the writing of ancient Greece, and this in turn produced scholarship that added to the widespread Latin scholarship of the Middle Ages. Another prominent aspect is the Reformation. We also studied Reformation as part of your BA course, and if you refer to the previous sessions also, you get an idea. So, it is an important factor in determining the course of the European Renaissance. Martin Luther was probably the most influential figures of this era, the Reformation and the consequent Counter-Reformation. Remember, this happened within the Catholic Church, and this led to several extended wars, political issues, state and interstate conflicts, etc., which lasted well into the 17th century, not just across Europe but also across Britain as well. And there happened the emergence of imperialism, trade and commerce flourished, and all these provided the necessary prerequisites for the flourishing of arts and culture. Remember, these are the characteristics of this particular period in Europe. Another important invention is the new cosmology. What do you mean by that? Earlier, the idea was that Earth is at the center of several concrete celestial spheres, but later it is with the publication of the Copernican theory in the year 1543 that it got proposed that a heliocentric universe with the Earth as one among many planets in orbit around the Sun exist as such. So there happened a drastic change in scientific beliefs as well. So certainly we can say all these factors are evident in the time of Milton's writing. Remember, his period is also marked by the presence of several new historical trends that actually come to define the following age. The following age means the age of enlightenment, and this spans the latter part of the 17th century. Remember, till the 17th century it was the age of Renaissance, the late Renaissance, and after that comes the age of enlightenment. Alright, so the main features of the Enlightenment era could be the celebration of reason, the celebration of scientific method in the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of a discourse of civic rationality. This attempted to explore and outline the relations of individual to society, etc. So just have a recollection of all those points that you studied as part of the history of English language and literature course that you did for your BA days. Do you remember studying all these? If not, it's all clearly mentioned in your study material. You can spend a few minutes, maybe a few hours, to read and understand the background history. Alright. Yes, even for essay type questions, you can include background details as one of the paragraph, maybe introductory paragraph for that matter. Yes. We can say that Milton more or less can be seen as if a poet belonging to a period between these two, the two periods that we discussed, that is the late Renaissance and the early Enlightenment era. Hence, we can say that he belonged to a transitional period in history between the two ages, and hence his work shows features of both the ages, that is bearing in his work the defining intellectual and cultural traits of both these ages. Nevertheless, it appears to be more appropriate to associate him with the Renaissance. That is why we said he can be referred to as one of the last great Renaissance poets. So, is that clear so far? Yes, I hope so. Now, if you look at your study material, next comes the political and social context of the era. See, this is the same thing that you studied as part of your history. So, spend some time to, revise. You may make use of the study material that you have used for your BA course. I think if you read some material that you have already studied, that would be much easier for you. If you are new to this English literature background, make sure that you read page number 11 from this particular unit. You will get a precise idea of what exactly happened in the political and cultural scenario of the late Renaissance. So we can say that this unit deals with the main features of the phenomenon known as the Renaissance, and it is important to have an understanding of these background details. Why is that so? It's because we are going to place our study of Milton against this particular socio-cultural and religious scenario. To summarize what we have discussed, we can say that the 17th century was a period riven by civil war, that is political and religious turmoils were there, and by large scale transformations happened in the composition of English society. And remember, various changes took place in the literary climate of the period as well, and these changes owed to the spread of Renaissance ideas and to the consequences of the Reformation. Remember, after Renaissance, after Renaissance happened Reformation. So as I mentioned, once you go through the history, you will get better clarity. Actually, you should be having an idea by now, ideally. I know it happens, people do forget, everybody forgets. So it's fine, you can have a quick revision. So we are moving on to another area which is of much more importance when compared to the background details. That is Unit 18, titled Milton, the Life. So in this particular unit, what we'll deal with is basically an account of Milton's life. We'll have a look at his childhood, his university life, his religion and propaganda, public and political life, the restoration and its impact on his poetic career as such. This would also help you write your essays effectively. So make sure that you read the basic aspects. Anyway, I'll help you with an introduction to the life of Milton.